What's up guys, welcome back to another Call of Duty Modern Warfare video. In today's video we're going to be talking about photogrammetry as well as tons of other graphics settings and about the art of Modern Warfare. So this all comes from a blog post over on Activision's website, and this comes from David Hodgson and an interview that they did with Joel Emsley over at Infinity Ward. So they say, at the start of Call of Duty Modern Warfare's development over 2 years ago, Joel was reminiscing. I had seen Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, and it had given me all the feels again. Despite the jump in visual fidelity of that title, Infinity Ward wanted the next Modern Warfare to be different, with a much bigger jump in graphical quality. They loved Remastered, but the goal from the inception of Modern Warfare was to make a visceral, real-looking game. That prospect became a reality one day at Infinity Ward. I was walking past an office and someone was screwing around in photogrammetry. What is photogrammetry? Dating back to the middle of the 19th century in its simplest form, this technique uses photographs to make comparative and accurate measurements, usually in order to precisely show a location, scene, or object. Today, this results in the ability to construct highly detailed 3D models, or as Joel describes it, take 1,000 different photos of a particular room from different angles, feed it into a magic computer, and it'll spit out a mesh that looks real, like a 3D version of a room exact to the micron. Initial photogrammetry results using the new game engine behind Modern Warfare were so impressive that the studio began to galvanize into art teams with one overriding goal in mind. Joel explains, during the past 2 years, the trick was to apply photogrammetry into the Modern Warfare environments without messing up all the game design. Teams began to fan out to find examples of wide variety of objects they could photograph. We started going out and collecting data around the neighborhoods near the Infinity Ward office at first. Joel was particularly keen on debris, rubble, and other scenery he knew would be needed for the game. In particular, he remembers taking images of some badass looking garbage on State Route 118. During this formative period, Infinity Ward created a team of people that educated themselves and learned and understood photogrammetry techniques to try and push the effort. We even tried designing our own devices like poles to take shots from all different kind of angles. We got really good at it. With all this visual data, the art teams began to construct environments using the new game engine, which was already well into production, before upping the quality of the graphics considerably using a tilling technique, adding additional detail for times when you're close to an object like rotting leather or sofa, or a crumbling wall, or the brickwork of a London townhouse. You get really close to walls, and when you see things up close, you're seeing this detailed tilling technique where you can really notice the detail. You're probably familiar with 16 or 32 pixels per inch. This will be 64 pixels per inch, almost as real as it gets. Crumpled corpses are another way to increase the seamless believability of the environments, Joel tells us. I like to get a bit experimental, so I started to drop in meat bags. These bodies were actually one of our in-house devs. There was a casting call one day asking who wants to get dressed up as a dead corpse and lay in the scanner. It actually doesn't take a long time to scan. It's just a camera snap, and 160 to 200 cameras go off at once. It takes one shot, which then takes 6 hours to process. Again, the results continued to impress. When you pose a character, you don't fully get the nuance of the skin or gravity, essentially the realistic effects of gravity and physics at work. It seemed that scanning developer-shaped meat bags allowed the team to drape and position expired remains with a new level of believability. The same was true with masonry and structures. Legacy techniques were mothballed, while the team took advantage of the abilities that the new game tech allowed. Joel again said, "We'd done this for years. Environment artists would sometimes end up hand-placing every single brick at a location. It looks good, but it doesn't look as real. Not like this. Instead, when twisted metal rebars, rusted piping, and other scenic necessities were needed, a quick field trip was organized. We went out to a quarry, stacked bricks, or went out to dilapidated wrecks and ruins, and we captured all this data, brought it in, and integrated it into our in-game environments. Now the team goes anywhere and scans anything they need. One example is an entire Russian tank. This is fully scanned. We got underneath it. I had no idea how. I guess they lifted it up and scanned it, but it makes for a smoking hot prop. When you see these things rolling around, it's completely convincing." As the scope of the possible ways to use photogrammetry grew, Joel tells us the team started getting super creative, and we heard about people using drones to scan environments. We'd go out to an area to get a good example of an expanded environment. We'd prop up a drone, and we would sweep coastlines, we would sweep deserts, mountains, forests, and we'd bring all this data back. The data would prove to be extremely important as the size of the levels, or as Joel describes, the sets of the game also grew. We started to make this super convincing far, mid, and close periphery areas to expand the set. It's a big game. You can reach out with a 12x and snipe in on this stuff and glass it from extreme range, as well as getting real close to it. You'll need to have all that detail. You have to see the details on cement, scenery for example. We have some sets that just go on and on and on. Even the most convincing townhouse, rebel stronghold, or mountain hideaway wouldn't be worth painstakingly crafting together if the AI inhabitants weren't rendered to the same quality. Joel and the art teams worked tirelessly to ensure believability across the board. Putting it all together and seeing our characters in the environment, we did a massive amount of work on our shaders and on our materials to make sure that this was a challenge. If we have an environment that is as real as a photograph, everything else has to be photographically real too. If you put in a made-up character in a realistic environment, they look completely inappropriate. It looks awful. We really had to work hard on that. How hard? We turned ourselves into a traditional Hollywood model shop. More on that later. This standard naturally extends to the outfits and garb each entity in the game wears or carries on their person. Even the screen where you choose an operator to play as in multiplayer was painstakingly realized. The operators and characters you work with are all standing in a photographic real environment. If you zoom in and out, you can see the environment parallax. It's dimensional. It's photographic projection technique. This is a real space that we went to, a prop house. We got everybody out of the studio that day, and we got props, and we set dressed, and we shot all of this, creating a realistic environment. But our goal is that every time we show you something, it needs to feel real. It can't just be a character spinning in a black space or some kind of low-res crappy environment. Breaking out real-life props and making them photorealistic in-game versions of them leads to some truly impressive results. Take Operator Grinch, who wears the ghillie suit, for example. I've been chasing after stuff like this for years, Joel tells us, with a laugh. I did the original ghillie suit. I don't get to design this. A character artist that I work with now totally kicked my ass, so they get to do it. And I get to kind of admire how badass that is. It's not only impressive to look at, but like the atmospheric environments, it's also designed to aid gameplay. What's cool about this is that it's concealment. You can crawl around, smith your gun a certain way, put some ghillie on it, and crawl around and use it properly. As we watched another playable operative, Zane, on screen, we marveled at the utterly believable torso length, cape flapping, and draping over the character's body armor. Joel was quick to correct us. That is not a cape, it's a tactical poncho. I saw this thing a few years back and thought it was awesome, so we went after it and found the right character for it. This is stuff I've been wanting to do for years that we couldn't. At one point, I was told I couldn't do high collars or low jackets on characters, and now we can do a full poncho. This dude's badass. Joel brings up another character, an operative named Kruger, wearing a helmet with a camouflage frogman netting, shrouding the entire face and shoulders. We've been chasing this type of character design for I don't know how long. I've tried and failed miserably until now, when we've got it right. There's so much happening to make this look right. The cloth and the netting on his hat have to look a certain way. To render a certain way, you have to see through it. Looking at the spots of mud, creases, and divots in the leather and stains on the material of individual items adorning each operative, it became clear that authenticity was paramount in adoring each character. Joel agrees. With our character department, we turned ourselves into a prop house. We'll actually take the shoes, go hiking in them, throw them in a pool, leave them there for a week, pull them out, distress everything. We are down there with Dremel tools, scraping things and making things look worn down. The physics engine also ensures hanging cloth sways in just the right manner too. Finally, we took a look at the player's gun bench where loadouts are chosen and weapons are augmented. This is where you disassemble and arrange your stuff, where you trick out your weapons and do all the cool things that go along with that. The bench, the scattered shells and bullets, and the weaponry on show, it all looks real. The challenge I had when we started this: give me a still screenshot of this and let me build something that looks like a gun enthusiastic magazine cover to see if we could fool people. I think we're getting there. This is still pre-alpha. By the way, this is all on PlayStation 4. And then they go on to say, how does Infinity Ward obtain such impressive visuals no matter what hardware is utilized? That's down to the new game engine overseen by principal rendering engineer Michael Drobot. Join us soon for an in-depth overview of the tech present in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So that is a huge blog post talking about some of the graphics tech behind Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And really cool thing that they pointed out there at the very end is that this is all on the PlayStation 4. So some people are still a little skeptical about this, about It could be a PlayStation 4 Pro, but even so, even if it is running on a PlayStation 4 Pro, you can guarantee that the Xbox One X version is going to look better, and of course the PC version is going to look absolutely phenomenal. But this stuff is all really cool, and it should be, a really awesome thing, because it's not just, even if you don't care about like the graphics behind the game, this level of like dedication and enthusiasm for just like the graphics engine behind the game should hopefully translate over to other aspects of the game. So even like I said, if you only care about the graphics, this should hopefully mean that pretty much all other aspects of the game are going to be taken care of with the same attention to detail. If the developers are really this like crazy about trying to like photograph like trash bags and make sure that they look as photorealistic as possible, then hopefully at least they're going to be putting that same care of effort and stuff into making sure that the networking is the best that can be, weapon balance, and all this other stuff as well. So I'm personally really excited about this. This is all really cool, and all this new like tech really interests me, especially photogrammetry. I mean, photogrammetry in video games hasn't been around. It's not like a brand new thing that's introduced this year. It was even featured in Star Wars Battlefront that came out in 2015. The original Battlefront. So that was over 4 years ago when, at least in my opinion and from my knowledge, when photogrammetry really first came to video games. But it's cool that Infinity Ward is really stepping this up to make everything like photorealistic as possible. Infinity Ward also has talked about in the past how they're trying to make Modern Warfare's environments like a 1-to-1 scale. So houses and buildings and guns and everything are actual like 1-to-1 scale, so everything fits together perfectly. Whereas, in other games, you would have doorways that are like 10 feet wide, you'd have fridges that are like only 4 feet tall, your characters are like 8 feet tall, stuff like that. Like, you want to have a sense of realism, and a lot of that comes down to having everything be put into perspective. So for me personally, I'm excited about this. I talked about this in my video yesterday about the multiplayer screenshots that Infinity Ward has shown off, and that is that I really like lots of detail in my maps and in my environments and games, because to me that shows a level of dedication more so than just creating like a two-dimensional room where you have one wall, two walls, three walls, four walls. You have like a box. Whereas if you actually like the easiest way to do this is with photogrammetry. That way you don't have to like personally design and place each individual brick or grain of sand or whatever into the environment. That's all done naturally and in real life, in reality, and then it's just photographed and put into the game. So they said like when they do things like brick walls and stuff like that, like in previous games, they always have to put that there, by hand. They have to actually, use their mouse and you got to click and place each brick there individually. Whereas now with Modern Warfare, they're gonna, go out to a quarry and actually place bricks in reality, stack bricks, and then photograph it to make sure that it, that's how it looks, rather than in a computer, they're doing it in reality. So this stuff is all really cool, and I'm really excited about this new engine. People have talked about this new engine and kind of gave it crap. People are saying, oh no, it's, it's the same old engine as before. They're just heavily modified, because I mean, honestly, we've gotten this story for a long time now. Call of Duty Ghosts supposedly gave us a brand new updated engine, and then Black Ops 3 gave us like a whole brand new engine compared to Black Ops 2, but it was still based on the same, like original architecture and engine, stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure even like Infinite Warfare was supposed to give us a new engine. I know Advanced Warfare did, and we've just been getting this thing for years and years and years. And now they're saying, oh, we got a whole new engine again. But this time I'm more likely to believe it, because they say that it's been in development for 5 years now, as well as the fact that technologies like photogrammetry literally were not possible in the old engine, but now they are. And even just by looking at that reveal trailer, like if that's running on a base PlayStation 4, heck, that looks better than even running like PC max settings on any like previous Call of Duty game. And I think Infinity Ward is one of the better developers when it comes to like actual graphics. I think that Sledgehammer Games did an amazing job with Advanced Warfare, and then the next best would be Modern Warfare Remastered. I would say Modern Warfare Remastered and Advanced Warfare are the two best looking Call of Duty games to date, and a lot of that comes down to the enthusiasm of the developers and kind of where they can place all that budget and where they can spend their time. So what do you guys think about all this? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm really excited for this. I really want a good looking game that feels as immersive as possible, and of course, I want it to be fun as well. I mean, you can have the most realistic game ever, but if it's not fun, then nobody's going to play it. So I mean, hopefully, like I said, Infinity Ward can take all this enthusiasm and all this, like, you know, dedication to the graphics engines and making all this stuff look as photorealistic as possible, and they can apply that same effort elsewhere within the game to make the game itself as a whole the greatest and the best it can be. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please consider subscribing, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell, because I have a lot more Modern Warfare videos coming up on the channel, as well as tons more that are going to be on the way. Especially, we're going to have multiplayer gameplay coming up on the channel here really soon, so make sure you guys are subscribed, ring that notification bell, that way you guys don't miss out on that. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys slap a like on it, and write a comment down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this. I read all the comments, so make sure you guys let me know what your thoughts are on this in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
Who's your team?
Some old comrades.